we can shift the view of separation as an acceptable thing, of individualistic, out for only yourself. That view can be shifted as no longer the acceptable way in which we do things, in the same way that we no longer accept slavery as a way in which to, it's like, that was an economic choice for some people at some time, like, well, how will I, get my cotton picked if I don't have slaves to pick my cotton? That's just impossible, and I can't give that up. Well, we've had changes in society that said you will have to find another way. And similarly, we will have to find new ways to do things. And in order to do that, we have to make the structures of society unwilling to bear separation as a way of approaching things, individualism as a way of approaching things. And I do think that's possible. We've seen that happen over and over again. It doesn't require everyone, it just requires an appropriate number of people. I think the time of global crisis, which it's already here, we're just not acknowledging it completely, right? So, it will further itself as we sort of sit around and go like, oh, I think there's something wrong, creates the opportunity for a transition. And so I think there are one and the same. What I think of talking about America and kind of how American culture, could afford to shift, and one of the things that I think about in relationship to the world is not that the world doesn't matter, but it goes back to me to the sensibility of like, we really have to work on ourselves before we can see clearly how we are impacting others. Because America, I think, at this moment, attempts to affect the rest of the world from its own broken perspective. And so we're actually sharing and infecting the rest of the world with our dominance and our power with a perspective that's incredibly flawed and incredibly broken, and comes from an incredibly broken place of lack of healing in our own country and our own society. And so until we're able to acknowledge our own need for healing in our society, and us dabbling all over the world has all these ill effects. And we have closed up, the space between us in the world, so that, things that we do here have a dramatic and recognizable effect on other parts of the world. So I think we're in world transition, and I think that as unfortunate as it is, that we've allowed there to be a certain degree of dominance from this particular country and this and the Western world in general, so that this pocket of society really needs to do extra work. It really needs to take itself and hold itself accountable for doing even more work, because it has so much capacity to do more damage. And we will. I don't know if I fear it. I'm aware. I hold an awareness that it will likely have to get much worse before it gets better. It's important for America to not view any shift that it has to undergo as being for the purpose of helping anyone else. It has to do that work for the sake of itself, not because, like, well, we'll be saviors if we do this, right? Like,
well, it's not enough of that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to really come from the perspective of, just like what happens to us as human beings, where we're like, oh, well, we have that devastating recognition of our flawedness and how blind we've been to that flaw, whatever those flaws are, and how much of an impact that has created on ourselves and on our families and on everyone around us. And we withdraw into a place of, when we're healthy, into a place of reflection, of like, what is it that I need to do? My mother's not going to change. My father's still going to be difficult. Like, my boss is still going to get on my nerves. My kid's still going to want new Nintendo things. But what is it that I have to do, my own work, to shift in order to shift my relationship to how I receive these different pieces of information? And I think on an individual scale and on a large scale, that's the kind of reflective place that we need to go to. And I don't think we have to solve it to the end. I don't think we have to say, in order to go into a reflective space, what are the outcomes going to be? We get obsessed with that, and the truth is that the truth of what needs to happen next will reveal itself from that place of letting go and releasing outcomes, from letting go of a need to fix things and just sitting in the space of acknowledging, of bearing witness to the truth of our brokenness, of our impact on everything around us, and of our lack of attention to taking the steps that we could have taken in the past and we should have taken, to change our behavior. And I think we just have to not fix it. We just have to sit with it. We just have to sit with the truth of it. We have to let go of the story of America as savior. We have to let go of the story as America's the land of the free and the home of the brave, or maybe it's backwards, but something like that. Home of the free, I don't know, something like that. But we have to let go of our myths about ourselves and our stories that we've been telling ourselves that has enabled us to continue in certain patterns of behavior that are just destructive. And until we do that, we're really of no use. We're just creating more harm.